back, everyone. Thank you again, Seven, for joining us. Welcome to another episode of Reliability BoomBox, proudly brought to you by Reliability Extranet, a group of companies, Sologic, Reliability Analytics, and Ray. Tonight, Seven, how are you?
Oh, very well, sir. I am very well.
That's good.
Running on all 8 cylinders, as they say in Australia.
On all 8 cylinders.
Yes,
nice.
Running on all 8 cylinders.
Yes, the other day you weren't quite running on 8.
No, not on 8.
That's good. I'm glad you were. You are now. Talking about running on 8 cylinders, it's a nice little segue you got there.
We didn't plan that, did we?
Hey?
We didn't plan that.
No, we didn't plan anything. So,
yeah, that's right.
I don't even plan speeches at uni. What are you on about?
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, side note. Firing on all 8 cylinders. The other week we spoke a bit more about problem solving and RCAs and where they sort of fit in and how they can really benefit smaller or other organisations. And we talked about some of the learnings that you've experienced in doing facilitations and so forth about having a particular framework. Tonight I wanted to throw at you is a little bit more about reliability analytics and the Sorba platform. Now, you and I have had some great conversations in the last couple of weeks about the platform and seeing what it can do and where it can go. And as you and I have freely admitted, we're still riding a bike with training wheels at this stage. We've got our expert racers on the other end of the country, the other end of the world, helping us out along the way, but they're certainly learning fast. But I wanted to see, I guess, first up, I wanted to hear the two most exciting things you've learned in the last 6-12 months.
Yep.
Sorba.
2 things I've learnt about Sorba.
And the most exciting things, most sort of applicable, exciting things, like,
well, number one, whatever we chuck at it, it seems to do it. It's extremely flexible.
Yeah,
extremely flexible, and I think with that flexibility comes some very, very skilled people in what we call Sorba corporate. I'm going to say. Sorry, I've got to learn how to spell. Just wait for me, mate. Flexibility. So we'll talk about that. Flex. I'll start again.
8 cylinders or 7?
I don't know, mate. Right. And 2, what's the most exciting? So 1, flexibility. And I'm thinking, now you got me flexibility on the brain. And the other exciting things, not just flexibility within itself, but it's also I'm gonna call it. It's still in the flexibility space, but I'm going to call it adaptability.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk. So flexibility is more straight into the Sorba space.
Yeah.
Right. And how the actual product works. And the adaptability is like how we can adapt it to external things. Yeah. So whether that's getting data in or data out, if you want to call it that. That's what I'm thinking. So,
sure.
Okay. So I've got those 2 things. So can you remember those?
I can.
Okay. Flexibility. All right. So the interesting thing about, people talk about, I think we talked about the path of ones and zeros in the previous podcast when we were talking about these things.
Yeah.
And I come back to that path of where the ones and zeros, the zeros and ones, where they actually travel.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that constantly amazes me about Sorba, right, is how flexible it is with those ones and zeros. All right. So once you sort of get it can get data in, so it comes back to that adaptability. And if the product or thing puts information into ones and zeros, i.e. a digital form, right?
Yep.
And there's a whole heap of different standards and protocols that are used in the industrial space. Okay. So PLCs talk a certain protocol, for example. Righto? It's not a problem for Sorba. It just handles it. Like I said, that's easy. give me a challenge. Like and it just does it. And I was trolling around in the configuration. I wanted to configure a certain data source, and it's there. You select it out of the box and off it goes. Like it's really easy. And the whole thing that the project that we've been working on, again coming back to that flexibility and this digital forms of ones and zeros, there were some ones and zeros in a form that was not common. Well, not common here in Australia, probably more common in Europe. But it wasn't common here in Australia. It had, some people stumped. And again, I'm going to come back to that flexibility and adaptability piece. The tool or the software suite is that flexible, right? It doesn't take much to adapt it to something completely new, where the ones and zeros were in essentially a format that we haven't really seen before. And lo and behold, within weeks, we had the ones and zeros moving through the platform. So it just constantly surprises me. So for our listeners out there, if you've got a plant that is highly digitized, i.e. it's got PLCs and, networks and all that sort of stuff, Sorba will be really, really home. And also, if you've got a plant that may not be digitized, okay, so old school, again, coming back to this flexibility, there's options there to get you into the digital space.
Yep.
And it just works. And it just works. So that's that's that piece there around flexibility. And if I move into adaptability, okay, so we had a request here in Australia to get data out of Sorba.
Yep.
Okay. Into the Microsoft stack, and put the request in to say, hey, we want to interface to this Microsoft product, like the common ones like Excel and stuff like that. Lo and behold, boom, there it is. This is how you do it. I get some instructions from corporate on how to do it. So, that adaptability of the system to, not only take the data in, but also put the data out into systems. So I've seen examples where they're, integrating Sorba into the actual operator controls. So, the bots are actually reporting what they're finding to the operator actually operating the plant. And so it comes around to that adaptability of the system. It's I'm actually quite amazed with how adaptable the thing is to meet people's needs. And that's what it's all about, is, it's having that flexibility and adaptability to meet people's needs. And we haven't stumped it yet.
Yeah, I can certainly see where you're coming from with those. And I know I'm not as in depth in the trenches with a lot of the data in, the data out, and the pieces of the puzzle as they all go together. So I appreciate the time you've spent in and about that, but I agree with you regarding that flexibility. And like you said, with that digital form, the ones and zeros, and I think I might have mentioned this in the last time it came up, it's like some machines or some digital format might speak French, some speak Spanish, some speak,
and it's like different languages, because it's sort of like the Europeans speak a set of languages, the Americans speak a set of languages, and it's very obvious that Australians speak English, but it's a different type of English. And the flexibility and the adaptability of the system to be able to handle all that sort of stuff. And again, that it also comes back to the people behind it. They blow me out of the water with, oh yeah, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, no problem. We can do that. That's quite possible. And one of the guys that I work with has been sort of described as like a rocket scientist. Yeah. and the what would you say? The meticulous. There's a good word. The meticulous approach to this particular gentleman certainly earns respect. Yeah. So. Yeah. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think from my experience as well, like just seeing how you said like they are flexible. There's nothing that really perplexes them in that sense. And like I said, we're still the ones with the training wheels on. We're still learning how to ride a bike, but it's like, yep, you can do that. Don't worry about it. Like we go like this, and with that adaptability, like you said, just that shift of where the data comes from, where it goes to, which actually leads me into one of the other topics I wanted to kind of bring up with you and sort of have a look at. And you mentioned it yourself there. If people are highly digitized, which a lot of large industries are, and let's be honest, from my experience, and I'm sure from yours, there's often a whole lot of data going in. Not a lot of it is getting processed exceptionally well because there's so much coming in.
Yes.
That it's like, I just can't figure it out. It's, it's like...
information overload, literally.
Information overload, yeah.
Yeah, and, literally.
Yeah, and you end up with, what is it, paralysis by analysis. Because you're trying to analyze all this information, whereas Sorba does all that for you. Like, we've got examples of one particular machine sending over 370 pieces of information every second.
Yes.
And it's processing it like this.
Yeah, it's like a walk in the park.
Dude, you want to challenge me? No.
Yeah.
So,
and again, that's another amazing part of the system is that throughput or cadence and the technology behind it. And again, like if you think about it, like a industrial IoT, Internet of Things, all based on internet-based protocols, which are fundamentally designed to be able to transmit data, and that's how they get in the throughput. That's how they get the throughput. And the beauty of it is, because it's an internet-based protocol, okay, it interfaces to all these different things. You can do so much with it because you've got all these different tools that you can pick from to meet your needs.
Yeah.
From a software point of view, like I'm now in IT land, and I don't profess to be an IT person, but I've got to try and understand it to explain it to people. And that's how I explain it is, some people ask me, what do we do? And, one of the answers I've got is we internet connect mining equipment. That's fundamentally what we do. And then on the back end of that, and this is where some of the amazing technology, the machine learning comes in, is because now you've got these, heavy pieces of equipment collecting all this data, now internet connected, and being able to transmit that data. I think is how do you process all that information, and that's where the machine learning comes in. And our supervisors, our first line of defense, our supervisor Sorbots, simply they can take hundreds of streams of data and recognize unusual behavior and tell you where it's unusual. And so that's one way of removing the information overload, you know, and me being from an industrial background, I've been on the receiving end of missing failures because of information overload. We simply missed it because we were trying to do too much. And, you know, with this technology now, you know, you could sort of relieve some of that burden off your shoulder and put it to the side and only worry when the machine learning barks up.
Yeah, certainly. And in that, I'd like to bring back a bit of an awareness that to think of it like sometimes, I guess, when people see all these AI information, you know, technology that's doing stuff a whole lot quicker than humans can, and I'll talk about it a bit because I really want to just, you know, talk about the elephant that's in the room sometimes is that
you're good at that, by the way.
Well, what am I going to do? Like that's taken away part of my job. But when we really look at it, it's like before you got oil reports regularly on a vehicle, or before you sort of, let's just use oil reports as a simple one. It's like if you ever worked in industry where you obtained oil reports for a report back on a vehicle, whether it was, you know, a truck, an excavator, and just a gearbox and a piece of machinery, or whether it was a transformer if you're in the electrical space, often you wouldn't do much about it until you saw the report, and you use that report as a quick tool to go, right, what do I have to have a look at? And you look for the red marks.
I was going to say the red marks. That's it.
Look for the red marks. Go, what do I need to look at? Oh, I need to look at that one.
Yeah,
quick.
the red mark. Yeah, the green ones you can ignore.
Green ones, just don't worry about it. It's like, yep, go.
Yeah.
And basically, these Sorbots are doing that on hundreds of things, thousands of things every second.
Yes.
So it's doing it at a quicker rate that hopefully can help you before. And if we talk about the oil report, for example, by the time you've taken the oil sample, sent it off to a lab, in most cases, it's, if you're lucky, you can get a 24-hour turnaround if you express it and it's urgent and you plan it ahead. But still, that's 12 or 24 hours. What would it mean if you had it live?
Yeah.
As soon as that difference started to appear, as soon as the particle matter increased to a worrying level, as soon as the moisture increased, as soon as the level dropped, you got some sort of indication of life.
Yeah. And just coming back to begin with the end in mind, and it's all about giving us early warning of an impending problem.
Yeah.
And, you know, you do your oil sampling and your condition monitoring. I'm going to talk generally. Why do you do it? You're inspecting the piece of equipment to assess its condition. And, you know, oil analysis is one technology. Vibration is another technology, blah, 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 blah. And why do you do those? To give you early warning of impending failure. Okay, because, you know, I've sort of been involved with transformers blowing up, which is not a good idea. I can tell you that now. I've definitely been involved with mechanical things, doing the wrong, behaving very badly. You know, in Australia, when an engine blows up and you break a conrod and the conrod goes out the side of the engine block, we call that a leg out of bed. You know, I've had we've been involved with and talked about, you know, legs out of bed with regard to engine. And again, the whole idea of this technology is to give you the heads up as early as possible that something is about to happen. If something has happened and it tells you, it's just happened, well, you sort of missed the boat, haven't you? You're suffering the pain of that failure now. Whereas if you had the heads up that you've got like days, hours, not minutes, but days or hours of warning that something is going to fail with a high confidence that it is going to fail. Okay, so you might have systems give you false positives, and that's been thrown around in industry a lot around the machine learning. What about false positives? Well, machine learning is only as good as what you teach it, would be my answer.
Yeah.
But though false positives aside, I digress slightly. But this is what you use this technology for, from a reliability engineering point of view. Like habit 4 in my book is deciding data. Right? You've now got the technology now, like here and today, to use data to give you the earliest warning possible.
Yeah.
Is probably how it summarizes.
Yeah. And one thing, I totally agree, and that's one of the things that I get excited about in this, because like you, I've been a part and involved in transformers blowing up, being electrically minded more so. Haven't seen the leg out of bed on the engines, but
it's not pretty.
Around the machinery that have seen failures, have seen other incidences go on. Mechanically pumping. In one of my previous roles, one of the biggest challenges on this particular site was, from an infrastructure's point of view, was managing the pump maintenance. Which brings me back, we've segued back into the other point that I want to sort of discuss, and you hinted at it yourself before, but if we talked about the fact that if people are digitized and areas are digitized, but there's also a lot of players out there, and when we talked with our good friend Jed Andrews,
yes,
about his line of work and where he's looking at helping and assisting others. Right now I'm traveling through far north Queensland, and there's a lot of industry, there's a lot of agriculture, there's a lot of other areas that may not be as digitized. And digitizing it all can be quite costly. And what I've started to see, and maybe you can talk a little bit more about this, is some of the technologies of bringing in vibration, sampling, noise, height, all those other little tools that we sort of hinted at with Jed Andrews, into that space and making it at that affordable level. And this is where the logic possibly can.
Oh, Sorba,
Sorry, my bad. You're not going to throw me today, Seven.
I know. I'll have to change I might have to get a background for Reliability BoomBox. It's really interesting, because the having been into this technology early, right? Okay, in my corporate life, we were really interested in the industrial Internet of Things to reduce costs, because we knew how much it would cost us to put a temperature through a PLC. Okay, and you weren't getting change out of thousands of dollars to do that as a minimum, right? And the only reason why you really want to do that is from a control point of view. Okay, where that temperature is critical to the process, and the PLC has to use that input in its logic and in making decisions. Okay, that's why you do it. And so reliability then sort of becomes a poor cousin, right? Because if we had our choice, we would want to measure temperature on everything. Okay, because what we're interested in is finding the subtle changes where, a bearing, for example, may be starting to increase in temperature, and there could be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bearings on a machine, and the PLC really doesn't care about the bearing temperature. All it really cares about is the RPM that the shaft is spinning. Right, from a control point of view, like as in controlling the process. So this is where reliability becomes essentially a poor cousin. And this is where I think the Internet of Things and well, the proofs of the pudding, you have a look at like the IoT store and how much you can buy, instruments and battery-powered instruments for, like industrial Internet of Things instruments for, and we're talking hundreds of dollars. It's a tenfold change or a tenfold saving in cost as per related putting it through the control system. Now, don't get me wrong. If the PLC is collecting the data, that can be used as well. It's not or this or this. It's and. It's all of this at the same time. And so if you're already, if you're already collecting the data, that's great. If you haven't got the data there to effectively monitor the piece of equipment, there is now it's probably changing. It is changing daily. The number of instruments that are available on the marketplace.
Yeah.
Vibration monitoring. When I first started talking about online vibration monitoring, you wouldn't get much change out of 30 grand Australian, so $30,000 Australian.
Yeah.
Right. $150 US.
Yeah.
For a basic vibration tool.
Yes.
Hit us up. We're happy to give you guys links on where this stuff is. But yeah, it's out there, and the price point what would you call it? Barrier to entry.
Yes.
There you go. The barrier to entry. There's my words for today. The barrier for entry is getting lower and lower and lower into this. And with more and more companies coming onto the marketplace with the selection of instruments, there's a whole heap of competition out there when it comes to regard to these things. And now it's sort of getting to the point where you almost throw away.
Yeah.
You can get you're almost to the point where the instrument fails, you throw away and get another one.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And I think if I come back to that example that I was talking about, or what led to this sort of discussion, we're talking about pumps and pump motors, and then if you flip that around to, say, the agricultural industry and farm, farmers have pumps out in the middle of the boondocks, tapped onto the back of a creek, covered up with a little tin shed.
Yep.
They won't know it's not working until the sprinkler doesn't work. I'm sure they've got their maintenance routines and they're looking after it the best they can, but they've also got a bunch of other things to do because they're often one-man band.
Yes.
Or a sort of small family, operation. And like you said, that barrier of entry, bringing these tools and applications down, and we've talked with some, and we've had some discussions with an organisation that actually make one of these tools, and it's more of a piece of hardware that actually just collects all that little bit of information. If you've got a relatively decent sized diesel engine with a water pump attached to it, hooked up, they have some automatic sensors. Your standard engine comes with certain volume of sensors. Temperature when it's getting too high.
Yep.
Maybe flow rate, or at least fuel volume.
Yep.
Your flow rates, pressure, some simple things like that. And some of them are quite simple, like you said, to simply add them in. They've often got the ports, they've got the area, and you just screw a little valve in, screw a little RTD in, screw a little pressure sensor in, and it's two little wires that just connect straight into something. And instead of going through that massive PLC like what we've experienced in
industrial sense,
in the industrial sense, is you can just be this little thing the size of like that teacup, or better yet, like hockey puck kind of thing. Like this.
Yeah.
Stick it to the side and hook up a couple of wires, and away we go. And with technology and the way that we can use mobile apparatus, through simple sim applications and things like that, and with it all being web-based, you can easily connect into people and help people with that. When your pump out the boondocks is backed up, when your generator's low on fuel, so instead of having to do your fuel run every other week to just double check that your generator's on because it's going to start when it needs to, just it's there. It's going to give you a win.
And you know, and the technology inside the Sorba stack exists to give it. You know, you get an email.
Yeah.
Day if you want of all your fuel levels.
Yeah.
There you go. Delivered to your inbox. You don't even have to think about it. You don't even have to go and find it. It's just part of normal process.
Yep. Hour run.
Sorry?
It can give you an hour run meter.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's how many hours I've been running for.
And I've worked on a large site that literally paid someone, and they said to me it was pretty much at least half a day.
Yeah.
For him to run around, check all the pump motors, and get their hour meter readings.
Yep.
You know, by the time he drove around, so you do the sums on that. Say your average tradesman in these industries is, say you're paying him $60 an hour.
Yep.
It's $300.
Yeah. Well, you've got an instrument in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got one little instrument.
Yeah.
And if he's doing that every week, times that by 52.
There's 52 instruments.
Instruments. And the site didn't have 52 instruments.
Yeah.
So you're getting the chance to buy back your time, the time of your people, the time of your staff, the time of yourself, if you are one
Yes.
man.
Yes. Agreed.
That's where I think, like, for me, one of the great things about these sorts of tools and applications is if we can help reduce the stress level of people in any way, shape or form, then I'm in.
Yes.
You know, we work in such a go, go, go society. It's all about strive and achieve. And whilst that's a benefit, and we want to maximize and get the most out of our cars, our trucks, our people, our pumps, and these tools can certainly help you do that, they also help relieve that stress and pressure of the person maintaining, looking after them, operating them, or just caring.
Manage them. Managing. Yes. Yeah.
So awesome. I thought, I just wanted to sort of bring that to some people's attention. I know we've talked a bit over the past and some things we probably double back on, hopefully with a little bit more detail. Though just really give the example of how these tools, and we've always talked about how they are tools in industry, large, small, and otherwise, can be very beneficial. And just to also highlight that our focus and the reason that we're doing this is we want to educate people on it, let people know what is there, what's out there, how they can apply them, and how they can benefit from it.
Yeah.
And to hopefully one day remove a little bit of that stress for them.
I just had a thought. Should we show some people?
Ooh.
There's a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might have to do a video series on showing people how things are done.
Yeah. Yeah, we might do. We might do.
I'm throwing it out there, Dane.
Okay. We might have to do a little video series of some applications and have to get.
Because that's one of the things that gets me with the information technology industry, and obviously you and I sort of engineering types of people.
Yeah.
I call it talking in tongues. They use words and phrases that are unusual to people like you and me. Anyway, I'm not taking anything away from my people in the information technology industry at all. But when dealing with engineering type people and practical type people, they want to see it work.
Yes.
Show me how it works.
Yes.
Type thing. And that's where I was just thinking, like, we'll throw a challenge out between the two of us. We'll show you how it works.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's so everyone keep posted for that. Seven and I will butt our heads together and come up with some little challenges. And we'll show you I think what I'm feeling into there, Seven, is I think what we'll show is some of the simplicities of some of the other things that are out there that you can use, some of the tools. And what I'd like to highlight for everyone is that for us, it's more about the software than it is the hardware. It's more about the digital processing of the information than it is of the collecting of information. The collecting of it is just a byproduct of what we need to do.
Yeah.
So we'll show you how simple that can be for some of these organizations that aren't connected to the Internet of Things. But then also we'll show you how simple it is to process that information.
Yes.
Quick, easy setup, and how quick we can go through the process, and we'll stage it in a step-by-step sort of process, just so you can see. And I've already got a few ideas that just sparked into my mind.
I think I've just caused myself some work. That's all right. That's what I'm here for.
You love it.
I do. Can't help me.
No. Awesome. I've got some good ideas. So we'll take that one offline, and we'll keep you guys all posted. But if you have an idea, if you have something you'd like to see it on, or you'd like to throw us a challenge with it, by all means, certainly do reach out. Send us a comment. Get in touch with us via LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you're watching it. Find us, look us up, get in touch. And even if you have a small problem that you're trying to fix, you're trying to rattle your brain on, let's give a crack to help you out in some way. You know, we do enjoy supporting people, and just showing the capabilities of these tools. So yeah, with that, I think we have a lot to now ponder.
Yes.
And
we're our own worst enemies.
Well, thank you again, Seven.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
And as Lanky said to me in a text message the other day, these are becoming enjoyable because it's a good little chat, and they rack the brain, and just refresh on what we learn, and kind of helps it sink all in for us.
Yes.
And hopefully helps it sink in for other people and give some other people some ideas.